Oh yeah, I've been waiting for this one, gang.
Finally! 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 Finally!
Fairy Tail is my homie Devin's favorite anime, and before, when I was watching it, I would not hesitate to tell him how excruciating this shit was to watch. But since then, I've seen a bunch of different anime. Some have been really good, some have been fucking twin star exorcists. Since then, I've become way more open-minded. I learned to enjoy a lot of anime for what they are. Hell, I even watched stuff like High Score Girl, and I really enjoyed it. And that's something that I never would have thought I'd watch, let alone enjoyed. Now, don't get me wrong, Fairy Tail still ass. But niggas thought I was about to say Fairy Tail is underrated or some shit. My bad. But it is the best ass show that I've ever watched. So I'll give it that. So, you know how we do things around here. First, we start off with the story. Our story follows our main character, Natsu. And yeah, I said Natsu. Lucy is not the main character. I don't care what the author said. This is my show, nigga. Follows Natsu and his annoying-ass companion, Happy, as Natsu tries to do two things. He wants to find his dad, and he wants to just keep completing jobs and enjoying the guild that he's in called Fairy Tail. He's really close with a few members of the guild, like Lucy, 𝐥𝐢𝐤𝐞, and the guild master, 𝐸𝐸𝐸. Now that we laid out the basics in this story, this show gets a lot of hate, but it's not 100% ass all of the time. Let's just be real. Towards the middle of the show, there's some actually like interesting plot elements. Like the whole Natsu being eaten ding thing was cool. Learning about Natsu's origin was cool. Learning more about 𝐸𝐝 and all the demons he created was cool. Having 𝐥𝐻nologia in the story is cool. And they actually linked it back to the main cast in the process and threw some interesting plot twists in that I was actually super impressed with and super surprised with. We're gonna do the usual thing, just run through the arcs since this show is long as hell, so let's do it. I'm gonna keep it a being with y'all. The beginning of this show was pretty hard to watch, and I think the slow start is a huge reason why I did not like this shit when I was watching it at first. The first real arc is the Sub-Zero Emperor Lion arc. This arc is basically Natsu taking an S-rank job off the board without actually being an S-rank guild member, so he did it without like the guild's permission, and he brings Lucy and Gray along with him. The people on the island are dealing with this curse called moon drip, and I think that turns the people into like monsters when it's a purple moon outside, or when the moon like illuminates in a purple color. While investigating the island to figure out where this curse is coming from, they stumble upon this demon that Gray is very familiar with named Deliora. This is the same demon that his master 𝐿 sealed away when she sacrificed herself. The ice melts, he's freed, they save the day, and that's really it for this arc. This arc is pretty unremarkable in my opinion. I'm not gonna lie, the only really decent thing about this arc to me was learning more about Gray, and the fight between him and his childhood friend was pretty cool. Otherwise, this arc wasn't the best, but the main thing I want you to remember is the fact that ice melted, because there's some shit that happened later on that pissed me off, and that's a huge part of it. The next arc is the Phantom Lord arc, which is way better than the last arc. We meet some more of the future mainstays in this arc, like 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐞. We meet another Dragon Slayer named 𝐥𝐤𝐤. We know now that there are more Dragon Slayers since 𝐥𝐤𝐤 was introduced. This arc is solid. It's way more interesting than the last one because we see the whole guild fight. We get to uncover a bit about Lucy's backstory and why she was kidnapped in this arc. We also found out there are more Dragon Slayers in the show besides Natsu, which I think is a pretty cool thing because it opens up possibilities. Definitely would start with this arc if that first one gets too unbearable. Next arc we have is the Tower of God arc. I think this arc is really good. One thing that Fairy Tail is really good at is intertwining his backstory with the current conflict, like his character's backstory with the current conflict that's going on right now. This arc really fleshes out 𝐿⁸'s backstory, introduces some of her childhood friends, and it introduces her childhood friend and the main antagonist of this arc named 𝐥𝐤𝐤. It was a pretty interesting plot twist in it. We get to see the 12 Wizard Saints for the first time. We get to see, or the 10 Wizard Saints, I think. And we get to see a more vulnerable side of 𝐿⁸. There are a couple little twists and fights that are pretty good. And at this point in the show, it really starts to pick up. This is a super solid arc. This next arc is the Death of Fairy Tail arc. I call it the Death of Fairy Tail arc. It just sounds cooler. After the Tower of God, niggas was chilling for a little bit until 𝐿axis showed up and tried to like overthrow the guild. This arc was like great. I love this arc. This arc was a big inter-guild fight. 𝐿axis pulled up with Freed, Evergreen, and my boy Big Flo, and basically wanted to become the guild master and replace Makarov. This arc was really a setup to show more of Makarov and 𝐿axis' relationship, because Makarov is Laxus's grandpa. I enjoyed this arc a lot. The Natsu and Laxus fight was really good, and I actually like Freed in this arc. I think he's really cool in this arc, but too bad they kind of ruin him later on. Basically, the arc ends with Laxus getting kicked out of Fairy Tail, and Laxus just going off on his own. The next arc is the 𝐴𝐸𝐤𝐸 arc. This arc was pretty solid too. I think this is where we meet my nigga 𝐥𝐢𝐤𝐸 for the first time. And 𝐥𝐢𝐤𝐸 the dog, he a dog for I fuck with 𝐥𝐢𝐸. I think this is where we meet Wendy and her useless ass companion Charlotte too. I think the fights were pretty cool. One thing I love about this arc is the ending part where they try to take 𝐥𝐤𝐸 away for firing off 𝐷𝐸𝐻𝐸𝐸, and Natsu and Gray were just beating the shit out of the Magic Council guard. Like, that was funny as hell. And I think one thing I really didn't like about this arc, I think Midnight was a bunch of wasted potential. I thought he was gonna be the big bad of the arc because it seemed like he didn't really do anything. It seemed like they were hyping him up to actually like be a problem in the arc. The next major arc is the Tenrou Island arc. This is one of my favorites from this show. We get to see my nigga Guildmates in action. We find a reason to hate Kana, and we meet two of my favorite characters, 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐞, one of the funniest characters in anime history. And we meet Zera, who was literally walking death. But unfortunately, this is where a lot of the bullshit start happening in this show. And you'll see what I'm talking about. 𝐿's fighting this nigga Azuma in her no defense form. I repeat, no defense form, by the way. In this fight, my nigga Azuma just says, yeah, fuck it. And he used the power from Tenrou Island and direct impacts her with a nuke twice. Not only did she tank these hoes in a zero defense form, she was still sitting there fighting. My homie Devil was like, she still has defense in her zero defense form. Then why is it called the zero defense form there? I don't get it. And 𝐿 is still supposed to be a normal person, so I don't think tanking a nuke should really be up her alley. Part of her forte. That ain't even the worst thing that happened in this arc though, which is the crazy shit. So remember that ice that melted from Deliora seal? And let's bring that back here. Apparently, that ice that sealed Deliora was actually a part of 𝐿, and it contained some of her, and the ice melted over on that island with the curses, right? What a curse was, right? So check this out. Fast forward to where we are now, and Gray is fighting 𝐿's daughter. He tackles her into this body of water around the island. Guess what happens? This bitch gets her mother's memories from that water. Like, what? Gang, so you mean tell me that water from that island, from that melted ice, the Crip walked this way over here, and now it's just conveniently chilling around the island they fighting on right now? Man, bullshit. Bullshit. My homie Devil was like, Bavar, you know water does spread. And honestly, he disrespecting me as much as the show did when he said that to me. I'm not gonna lie, for it really made me mad. This damn near made me sick when I watched this. But at least in this arc, there was a saving grace. And that nigga 𝐥𝐤𝐸𝐞 pulled up and made them niggas put their Crocs in sport mode. I ain't never seen a nigga put a boat in reverse and speed off that fast. Them niggas was running like hell. That shit was perfect. I love the ending to this arc. The next major arc is the Grand Magic Games. And I ain't gonna cap, this shit was heat, my nigga. This shit was heat. This is the tournament arc of the show. And I must say, this arc did not disappoint. A lot of things happen in this arc, and I think that this is where you really see the world building in this show in full effect. Cause there's so many guilds out there that we didn't see. But we see a lot of these guilds competing in the actual Grand Magic Games. So the whole reason they're in the Grand Magic Games to get Fairy Tail back to the #1 guild, because they supposedly died on Tenrou. But 7 years later, the OG members actually came back, Makarov and all them. We meet Sabretooth in this arc, which is the #1 current guild. Also, we meet the GOAT himself, my homie Frosh. Frosh is one of the funniest anime characters of all time, and he only says one line. He's just an amazing character. He's written perfectly. He's the one XE in this show besides Lily that don't get on my nerves. And we meet two dragon gods named Sting and Rogue. This nigga Natsu does some hilarious shit in this arc. This nigga is pulled up on Sabretooth by himself. Nigga didn't care if there was a #1 guild or a #55 guild. At this point, he just pulled up solo and he wanted every bit of smoke, and he was actually doing some damage, so he didn't think twice. This right here, this moment right here solidified Natsu as one of my favorite characters in this show immediately. And to make it even better, in one of the last fights, 𝐥𝐤𝐤 and Natsu absolutely shit on 𝐥𝐤𝐤. This arc didn't really have any of the bullshit that Fairy Tail usually has, so this is a really good watch for me. I think you would enjoy this if you get this far in the show. Next, we have the Tartaros arc, the Tartaros Demon arc, and just like that, we are right back to the bullshit. This arc was definitely enjoyable, but the shit 𝐼𝐸 does in this arc is downright disrespectful to your eyes and ears. Nah, I'm dead ass, bro. 𝐼𝐸 beat a Tartaros demon with none of her 5 senses, and if I'm not mistaken, an extremely heightened sense of pain. Gang, now you're just doing this shit on purpose, dog. There's no way. How did she win, you might ask? Well, why don't we let Happy explain it to you? When Happy said that should kill me a little bit on the inside, fool. I know you're not supposed to apply logic to anime, but that don't mean you let anime disrespect your brain like that, gang. That shit was super disrespectful. I hated that. I was like, Devin, explain that one. Explain it, please. The last arc that we have for now is the Alvarez arc. And this bitch was some heat too. There's some legendary moments in this arc. Some are legendary because they're hilarious. Some are legendary because they're bullshit. Gang, the fights in this shit were heat. The Spriggan 12 heat. E&D Natsu heat. This is one hell of an arc. This is a really good arc. I don't think I've ever laughed harder at something more than 𝐥𝐤𝐤 killing God Serena and 𝐥𝐤𝐤 stuffing out Irene's corpse. I just think that was like hilarious. Cause like, why were you doing that? She's already dead. Why are you doing that, gang? But that's three things we have to talk about here. There's no avoiding it. Number one, there ain't no way in hell that 𝐼𝐸 had every bone broke in her body except for her arm and still mustered up the strength to boost up in the air and cut a damn planetary devastation in half. That was disrespectful. Super disrespectful. Number two, there's no way that 𝐸𝐝 lost, gang. This nigga 𝐸𝐝 had infinite magic. They gave Walking Death infinite magic. And this nigga Natsu just punched him like he was Doomfist or some shit and just won. Like what? And the crazy thing is, number three, he did the same thing to 𝐥𝐤𝐤. Literally the same exact thing, folks. Just Doomfist punched this nigga and just won.
You can't keep getting away with it!
Like, man, this show is disrespectful, dog. Like, this show, if you try to apply logic to this show, you're gonna hate it. I promise you. I can guarantee 100% that you're gonna hate this show. I repeat, do not try to apply logic to this show, and do not expect storytelling from other anime, and actually explain stuff to you, because this show ain't explaining nothing to you. And if it does try to explain something to you, it's gonna troll you, and it's gonna make you mad. So don't even expect it. Don't get the wrong idea. This show is a really enjoyable watch if you have an open mind. This show be having some of the worst assholes I've ever seen in any anime ever. But if you could look past that and get past those first 2 shitty arcs, then you're in for a pretty good watch overall. Fairy Tail is actually a really decent show. A really good show, actually, I would say. Now, let's move on to the characters and character interactions. Now, I can give Fairy Tail's credit on this one. They handle their characters in this show extremely well. It feels like all of the right characters are fleshed out, and I really like how they use the arcs to develop certain characters while intertwining them with the main conflict of the arc. I think that's a really good aspect of their story writing. There are a lot of good characters in this show, and I like a lot of them. Natsu is hilarious. Really, he's given the perfect amount of stupid, savage, and compassion. He's a really good character to build the show around. I'm glad they made him the main character. Yeah, I said they made him the main character, right? I like how they started to develop his selflessness in the Tower of God arc, because he didn't even know 𝐼𝐸 like that at that point. He still did everything in his power to help her, even though she wasn't even helping herself at that point. Gray is super cool too. I kind of like how they fully explore his and Juvia's relationship, and he's kind of like the same perfect balance that Natsu has. We We might need to put this nigga on suicide watch though. Like dead ass. This nigga at every minor inconvenience that come around, this nigga, here that nigga come with this ice shell, dog. Like, do you not want to be here, bro? Like, just tell me if you don't want to be here, fool. Niggas always try to find an opportunity to stop living. Nigga dropped the glass cup on accident and he tried to ice shell himself. Like, bro, you're good. you straight, bro. Are you depressed? What's wrong with you, dog? Lucy is super cool too. I really like her backstory. I like Lucy's backstory a lot and how it unravels over time. Cause you really don't know nothing about her for the longest. And I think her character is super dope after actually learning about her past. And she grows a lot. She goes back to her home and faces her father. She makes some really tough decisions that leads to even more growth. Lucy is really dope character. I like a lot of these characters, man. Makarov is really cool, even though he should be dead. He should be dead. That's another ass pull in that Alvarez arc. Nigga, Makarov turned into stone and he just woke up. I was like, yo, what? Like, hello? 𝐥𝐤𝐤 is cool. Frosh is the GOAT. I'm telling y'all, if y'all watch this show and get to the part where y'all meet Frosh, y'all gonna love every time he talks. Frosh is always, his comedic timing is perfect. And like, he just, I don't know, he's just funny nigga, dog. He's just a really funny nigga. I hate Happy. I was just, this hasn't changed. I've grown to open mind to enjoy Fairy Tail, but I still hate Happy. Happy is the most useless character in damn near anime history. I'm sorry. But why? Happy flies around Natsu because he can't fly. Come closer, my nigga. Natsu's a dragon. I've seen Natsu fly without them explaining it. I've seen Natsu fly a couple times. Or they might be really big jumps. This is anime, bro. You never know. Like, I've seen Natsu fly, though. Nigga being a flying escort for a dragon. Like, thanks, I guess. I hate Charlotte. I hate her. That clairvoyance is very useless. She's annoying. Laxus is super dope. Super dope. I really like what they did with his character, and I really like his character progression over time. He's kind of like a Vegeta archetype type thing. Mira Jane is super dope. I think Mira Jane is a very underrated character because she's like a really like well-written female character. Like, I think as far as female character, I think she's second for me. It's 𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐷 and Mira Jane. Mystigan is goated. I really wish they showed more of Mystigan and what he did. Mystigan was goated. This nigga was taking out guilds by himself. Like, Mystigan is a really goated ass character. And the whole little 𝐥𝐢𝐤, him being 𝐥𝐢𝐤 from alternate like time thing, it was kind of cool. I kind of like that story aspect. It sucks that he had to go, though. It sucks that he had to go. 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐞 is goated. 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐞 is goated just for something that 𝐼raze's dead body for, but that was the most unnecessary thing ever. And he's like, he was the one person in this show that like actually was one of the two people in the show that was actually like supposed to be feared and were feared. Like, 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐞 name carried weight. That nigga was like Voldemort in this show. 𝐸rf is goated too. He's the other half of the niggas that was actually like feared in this show. Like, 𝐸rf was a really good character, and his backstory along with Maven's backstory is actually really cool. And I like how they hooked it and brought it back to the current conflict like they usually do flawlessly. Like, I really props to Fairy Tail for doing that. That's really like a smooth way to write your stories. Jura is goated too. The way he one-shotted that lightning guy, that thunder guy, nigga, that shit was classic, folks. Most of the cast is likable. I can't really name everyone, talk about everyone, because this video already gonna be long as hell, but most of the cast in this show is really like good. I think there's a lot of characters to choose from that you could like in this show. Now, let's move on to looks, presentation, and music. This show looks pretty good. The fights look great for the most part. The visuals for the attacks are pretty standard. The fight choreography is actually really good. So there's no really complaints for the look of this show. I didn't really notice anything visually that I didn't like on my first watch through of Fairy Tail. I think the animation is pretty smooth and pretty clear for the most part. It's not super spectacular, but it still looks great. Like, I'm kind of spoiled by, Mappa with 8-bit and Ufotable. I'm kind of spoiled by them, so this is still great for like regular anime standards. I like the OPs in the show a lot. I think maybe this is a little weird, but I actually like the tavern style of music that plays whenever a really big moment is about to happen. I feel like it's kind of refreshing. Usually in these other anime where there's these big grand action set pieces and action sequences, there are these huge choir and orchestral pieces, which I'm not complaining about, of course. Some of that shit is perfect for the moment. I just think it's nice to hear something a little new right there. Something simple, upbeat, and effective, and it works. Like, I didn't think tavern style music would just work like that. They really make it work. I kind of fuck with that. So, what's my verdict on this show? I think this show has some really high highs, and overall, I think it's a pleasant watch. But I can see why people will skip out on this one. If you have an open mind, you're gonna enjoy it, and if you don't, then I can understand. This show takes a while to actually get good. If you can make it past the first 2 arcs, you're in for a good watch. This show does not deserve all the hate that it gets. It just deserves most of it. That's all for me, man. As always, man, have a great day. Peace.